You. Yes, you who sit now in the quiet, or perhaps in the midst of the noise that life insists on making. I see you. I feel you. I feel your search, your silent restlessness, your hope of finding a refuge, an anchor point in a world that seems to spin faster and faster, demanding more and more from you without ever giving you enough in return. I invite you to a darker, quieter place. Not a place of fear, but a space of truth, where the daylight does not reach the deepest shadows of the soul. It is an invitation to descend to the underground of your own consciousness, where the foundations of your being are put to the test, where the self meets without the mask and distractions of the world. It is an invitation to the encounter with yourself in the presence of what is most difficult to face. Breathe. Feel the air enter and leave. Let the slow rhythm of your breath become the only anchor in this moment. Do not try to rush the next word, nor the next thought. Haste is the enemy of wisdom. Haste is flight. Haste is the denial of the present. And we came here to stay. We came to face what is, to face what always has been. We came here to talk about what humanity most avoids, what it most fears, what it most tries to silence, what it most tries to numb. Pain. Pain is not just the sharp sting in the body, the cutting cold of illness, the fever that consumes the flesh. The pain that interests us is the pain that builds and the pain that destroys. It is the invisible wound of betrayal, the breaking of trust that leaves a trail of ashes in the soul, the feeling that the ground has opened beneath your feet. It is the deafening emptiness of loss that leaves a hole in the chest, the constant pressure of anxiety that refuses to yield, the weight of ambition that is never satisfied, the cold of social exclusion, the fear of insignificance. It is the shadow that moves with us, step by step, from the first moment of consciousness, from the first cry. It is the certainty that life, however beautiful, is also a succession of fragilities, and yet a voice that whispers through the centuries, a voice from Rome, from a man named Seneca, who invites us to a radical paradox, a complete inversion of our intuition. He tells us that this shadow, this universal enemy, can be, in fact, our most faithful ally, our most rigorous teacher, our most honest mirror. Listen carefully. What we seek is not the denial of pain. It is not the cold insensitivity of a marble statue. Stoicism is not about not feeling. It is about transmuting suffering. It is about turning poison into medicine, wound into strength, adversity into opportunity. It is the alchemy of the soul, the art of turning the lead of experience into the gold of wisdom. Seneca, the philosopher, the playwright, the advisor to emperors, who knew wealth and exile, power and condemnation, does not speak to us as a theorist, but as a guide who has already walked through this darkness. He invites us to look at pain not as a punishment from fate, but as an instrument of refinement. The first step, and the most difficult, is to confront our natural aversion. We are programmed to flee discomfort, to flee criticism, to flee uncertainty. We build entire lives around the search for a comfort that is, in its essence, an illusion. We believe that happiness resides in the absence of problems, in the smoothness of the path, in the predictability of tomorrow. But Seneca asks us, what is a life that has never been tested? What is a soul that has never been put to the proof? Imagine silence. Let this idea settle. The pain you avoid is the same pain that prevents you from knowing your true strength. We suffer in two ways: the real pain, which is inevitable, and the imagined pain, which is our own invention. Seneca warns us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think of anxiety. Anxiety is suffering borrowed from the future. It is the mind projecting itself into tomorrow and painting the blank canvas with the worst possible scenarios. It is the fear of loss before the loss happens. It is the fear of failure before the attempt is made. It is what the Stoics called proleptic suffering, anticipated pain. The true torture, according to Seneca, is not the event itself, but the anticipation of it. The mind, instead of living in the present, becomes an instrument of self-torture, a mill that grinds the future into dust of fear. The mind becomes a jailer of itself, and the cell is the tomorrow that does not yet exist. When you feel paralyzed by social anxiety, for example, what do you fear? It is not the present moment, but the future judgment, the imagined humiliation, the rejection that has not yet occurred. You are suffering for a ghost, for a possibility that only exists in the dark theater of your mind. You are paying the price for a disaster that may never come. Seneca teaches us to bring the mind back, to say, this has not happened yet, and if it does, I will face it with the resources the present offers me. He encourages us to practice premeditation of evils, pragmeditationem malorum, not to torture ourselves, but to vaccinate us against the shock. By contemplating loss, illness, criticism, we steal the future of its power to surprise and destroy us. We become familiar with the idea of pain, and so, when it arrives, it is no longer a terrifying stranger. The pain, when it arrives, is often less than the fear that preceded it. Fear is the giant that dissolves when we confront it. Pain is the forge of character. Discomfort is not a bug in the system of life. It is the hammer that shapes the metal. Imagine the blacksmith. He does not take the iron and caress it. He subjects it to the most intense fire, to temperatures that threaten to destroy it. Then he strikes it with brutal force, repeatedly, in the hot and in the cold. The iron groans, but with each blow it loses its impurities, it gains form, it acquires resistance. The iron that comes out of the fire is a tool, not an inert mass. Adversity is the fire. Pain is the hammer. Seneca, in his writings, reminds us that the man who lived in opulence and ease, who never felt the sting of need or the humiliation of defeat, is a fragile man. He is like the iron that has never seen the fire, soft and useless for any serious purpose. His happiness is superficial, dependent on external circumstances that can change